I came for my interview. Mr. Klein was the dean, and it was love at first sight. In those days, the dean's office was in McDowell, and I was in Mr. Klein's office, and he put me in a chair, and he sort of danced around me, waving in his two fingers as if to show utter disgust of publication of some pottery that I had sent, because that's what you do when you're applying for a job. You send a publication. He didn't think this was worth much. And by the end of the day, he took me home to his house, and his wife, Dodo, who was an absolutely brilliant cook, had cooked, and we ate, and it was wonderful. I was put up, I think, in Campbell, and during the middle of the night, there was a madrigal singing group. I was absolutely enchanted. I opened my closet door to put some clothes in. There was at the bottom of the closet a skeleton with the Greek legend, "Know thesauton, know thyself." I knew I was in the right place. So I got appointed, and thanks to Benedetta, really. Yasha was, there was nothing frail about him. He was lusty. He loved to eat, drink. He was a man to imitate. He was continuously imitated. The students would build snowmen and make them look like Yasha. He had all sorts of kookinesses about him. He didn't like touching doorknobs. So he'd get out his rather dirty handkerchief and wrap it around the doorknob before you open it. I don't know what good that was supposed to do, but that's what he did. Everybody saw this, knew it, everybody imitated it. He was known for the fact that he spit. He would spit into the world because he smoked a pipe. A most absolutely disgusting brand called Balkan Sobranie. Hurt your nose just to breathe it in. And it made him spit. It was disgusting.
Mr. Klein, I want to give you my key.
Oh? What do you want me to do with it?
It's the key to my room. I won't be needing it anymore. I'm leaving school.
Really? Perhaps you are. What makes you think that?
Well, I just don't seem to be getting any place here.
That's interesting. Sit down.
There's no point in talking about it.
Sit down anyway. Please sit down. You just said you don't get anywhere. Where did you expect to get?
Well, when I first came here, I thought there was something I could learn.
When he was dean, the students loved him. They loved him partly because of these crazinesses, but that's not enough reason to love somebody, partly because he's so absolutely unbudgeably humane about things. There was nothing official about him. He could be very dignified, he could be very strict, but he was always more human being than official. Yasha would stand at the bottom of the stairs at McDowell and observe students' faces as they came out of class to see whether they looked engaged, happy, miserable, bored. And I remember once I came down the stairs and he pulled me into the office and he gave me hell. Why? Because evidently I'd said to a student who had come to complain, I'd threatened the student with bodily harm if he didn't learn his irregular Greek verbs better. He just said he mustn't, don't threaten people with bodily harm. Okay. I tried to get him to tell me something. He wouldn't tell me anything. He wouldn't. It wasn't in him to collect. People collected around him because he had a certain charm and because they liked him, but he wouldn't pontificate for me. He wouldn't pontificate for anybody. In the end, I never knew whether it was a pedagogical hesitation or whether he just didn't know. In either case, the effect was the same. I had to do it myself. He was, to my mind, the way a seminar leader ought to be. which is that he heard what everyone said. Sometimes he paraphrased it. He made it sound more interesting than it really was. That made people be more interesting than they would otherwise have been. And that he was in that way really a teacher for me. He discovered the educational benefits of conversation, partly from his study of Plato and dialogues. And he thought that his own dissertation, he'd never let me see it. He said it isn't worth the paper it's written on. He thought that most articles, the secondary literature that make up academic writing, was a pure waste of time. He didn't want to have anything to do with that. So he thought of his own book as being one of those contributions, but it was clearly more than that. I had read Klein's book because Seth sent it to me. I came to translate the book because I hadn't understood it properly or didn't think I understood it much at all, and I find that rousingly annoying. So I did sit down to try to translate it. The other thing was that I could tell that it was a very significant book, a book dealing with the foundations of modernity. Yasha's response when I presented him with the accomplished fact of the translation was first that he didn't want anything to do with it. Though I have to say, once it had happened, he became very interested in getting it published, and eventually the MIT press published it. It became a prestigious book, as it ought to have been.